Public criticism is growing after the killing of Alex Preddy, including among Republicans. Nevada Congressman Mark Amodei, who chairs the subcommittee responsible for DHS funding, told the Nevada Independent that, quote, there needs to be a pivot in the whole operation. That's a Republican. He said, we are not in a good place right now. More than a dozen GOP lawmakers have now called for an independent investigation into the fatal shooting. Some are even starting to echo Democratic demands for Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem to resign. Meanwhile, congressional Democrats continue to fight to gain access to ICE facilities in their home districts to conduct oversight as required by the actual law. One of them joins me now, former Army Ranger and Democratic Congressman Jason Crow of Colorado. Congressman, thank you for being here tonight. There is much to cover. It is not often that Republicans defy Donald Trump, especially on such a public and controversial issue tied to his signature policy, which is immigration. Do you see this as an inflection point?
Well, I'm not holding my breath, Stephanie. I've been through a lot with my Republican colleagues in the last few years. January 6th, I thought was an inflection point. Election denial, I thought was an inflection point. The abuses of this administration, I thought was an inflection point. Unauthorized bombings of foreign countries. So I don't hold my breath anymore to hope that my Republican colleagues will do the right thing. I want them to, and it's never too late to do the right thing. That is always my message, and my door remains open to them, but I'm not going to plan around it. So what we're doing is exerting unbelievable pressure in Republican districts against Republican colleagues. I am leading the effort to help fight and win in districts and kick these folks out of office, frankly, who have turned their back on the Constitution and rule of law, and replace them with servant leaders who actually will be responsive to the Constitution and their constituents. That is my work. In the meantime, I'm going to continue to fight for my constituents.
Do you have a cordial relationship with any, are you speaking to any Republicans and sort of trying to convince them? Do you think there's enough anger that they could pause DHS funding? What's your day-to-day discourse like with them?
Yeah, all the time. I'm constantly talking with my Republican colleagues. You know, let's not forget that in the past few years, I've been one of the most bipartisan members of Congress. You know, 3/4 of my bills I introduced with a Republican colleague. I'm always in the top 10 for bipartisanship. But now what's happening in the last year is a constitutional crisis, a presidency that is challenging the Constitution and the rule of law, abusing Americans, murdering Americans with federal agents. It is a whole different ballgame now, and I am fiercely fighting that. And a president, by the way, that's been coming after me personally for filming a video with my fellow veteran members of Congress, to which the president hasn't liked. So he threatened to have me tried and imprisoned for treason and executed. We're in a different world now. I'm going to continue to try to convince people to do the right thing, but I'm not going to hope that they're going to do it. I'm going to plan otherwise.
I know you have called for DHS Secretary Kristi Noem to step down, but other officials like Kash Patel, Stephen Miller, they made similar comments around Alex Preddy's killing. But here's the thing. None of them are president. Donald Trump is the president of the United States. So as long as he is in office, does it change any of the policies, even if all those people leave?
No, I don't think it does, right? But what we see is the culture being set at the top. Donald Trump is operating with impunity. He does not believe that the Constitution applies to him. He does not believe that laws apply to him. He has repeatedly made references to wanting to be a king and a dictator. Let's take the man at his word, right? I have learned to listen to what Donald Trump says, to take him at his word. And what he says is pretty disturbing stuff. So is this a Kristi Noem problem? In part. But if she goes, we still have Donald Trump to reckon with. So what we need is a movement in America to restore our democracy, to push back on this lawlessness and recklessness. We are seeing that happening. Americans are stepping up in Minneapolis and in Colorado and other places to reclaim their communities in our country.
Well, let's talk about what you're doing in Colorado, because you're fighting the Trump administration in federal court for imposing a 7-day wait period before members of Congress like you can access these detention facilities. Tell us what's going on with that.
Yeah, so actually less than a mile from where I'm sitting here right now, there is an immigration detention center, one of the biggest in the West, and it's smack dab in the middle of my district. So I have made that one of the focus areas of my work in the last 6 years, doing inspection visits, oversight visits. I helped pass into law a bill that requires immediate access by members of Congress to these facilities. The administration is ignoring that law, so I'm suing the administration. Me and several of my colleagues filed a lawsuit last summer against the Department of Homeland Security. We were just in court again yesterday. We are pursuing restraining orders, injunctions, doing everything possible to enforce the law that we helped pass. And in the meantime, we're mobilizing the community. They're conducting oversight, citizen oversight is what we're calling it, documenting the abuses of these agents around the country so that we can pursue accountability when we reclaim power.
Sorry for interrupting. I'm out of time, but I have to ask, when was the last time you were inside? What is it like there?
Well, I tried to get in a week and a half ago. They denied me access to it. So we continue to try to get access to it. We've been in, my staff and I have been in over 70 times over the last 6 years. But in the last year, it's been harder to gain access. And of course, they are denying the immediate access provision, which is key, right? Not the 7-day notice where they roll out the dog and pony show and show us what they want to show us. We need immediate access to these facilities, and that's what we're litigating.
Sure. Mrs. Hannigan can always clean up if she's warned that Daddy Warbucks is coming, but it's a surprise visit. That's what matters.